Hey, what's up guys, it's Liam or Eagle on your Overwatch, back with a new video. Today we're going to be talking about Reaper. A lot of people have been asking if he needs a buff. There's been discussions on the forums, and we'll go through some of them too, about his place in the game right now and whether he needs some tweaks. Now, let me just remind you of the nano meta. Do not forget that while I'm going throughout this video, but you can let me know in the comments what you think to Reaper, whether he should be in a better place or whether he's good just where he is. So one of the most popular talking points on the forums about Reaper is whether he should be able to cancel out of Wraith form. Now, the thing about this idea, and I do like it, is that the principal designer Jeff Goodman actually replied to this saying that it's not out of the question to make this not a thing, but he does say that there's a benefit of having abilities being all in within the game. If you choose to do something, then you have to commit to it. And the example he uses as well is Pharah's ultimate, which does some of the most damage in the game. However, if you don't use it at the right time, you get 0 value, you get punished for it, and you lose it, and it becomes very, very useless if you don't do it in the right situation. Now, the issue I take with being able to cancel out of the Wraith form is that you would instantly be able to 1v1 anything in the game, and Reaper can already do that to a certain extent. If you're in a 1v1 engagement with Reaper, you're just going to kill things quicker than they can kill you 99% of the time. And right now, when you Wraith form, you are dedicated to the Wraith form, so you actually have to leave the duel that you're in. So yes, you can bait out a McCree stun or a Roadhog hook, but by the time you're out of your Wraith form and you fight again, they're gonna have it back. Whereas if you can just use it to bait it out and cancel it, you're going to win them fights all of the time. Which brings me to one very important point about Reaper, and that's that he is a low skill cap hero with a high damage output. Most skill heroes in the game can have more damage done per second than Reaper and have a higher ability range, but he has to be capped off because he's simply so easy to use, and he can still melt most things in the game in 1 or 2 shots. He's still very, very good, but he's very situational. Now, the reason that he wasn't so good in the tank meta wasn't only because of D.Va, it was also because just there was so much HP and it was so easy for people to regen their health or be healed by Ana or get naded and healed or Lucio amped. There's so many ways to get your health back that Reaper simply couldn't burst through that. Now, one thing we would argue is that in a lot of solo queue games, people didn't actually run the triple tank very well, and Reaper was actually still viable at that time. We did do a video on it at the time too, but the main reason he wasn't so good is because he couldn't do enough damage, because he, as I say, has that potential cap because he's so easy to use. And this is what a balanced hero is within the game. He is very usable still to this date, but he's not at the Nano Reaper meta where he was just absolutely devastating to everything in every game and you could always take him. That's what a balanced hero is. He's viable, but not necessarily always. I never think to myself, we don't want a Reaper on this team. Only if they're running maybe a Pharah who's having too much output, then yeah, we'll need to swap off the Reaper. But besides that, it's never a weak pick, in my opinion. Now, to put more emphasis on his potential, he can still 3 or 4 shot tanks easily. It's just you can't be in the death ball fighting them. He is a pounce playstyle of a hero. You have to hide, bait and flank and then pounce and kill something very, very quickly. Now, he wins duels very simply against heroes like Soldier, for example, and even though Soldier can have a higher potential output on the game, in a 1v1 situation, if the Reaper jumps the Soldier, it doesn't matter if he puts his health pack down, you can shoot through it with no problems. Just going for body shots, even on most heroes in the game, you're still only 2 or 3 shots away from killing anything if you get super close. Now, I'm not saying there's no skill to Reaper, but the skill that's there is for a specific reason, and diving into the death ball and being able to just take out all the tanks in the world is actually a misconception. That's where a lot of people use him. His ability is to find something that's off on its own, duel it, and win that duel very, very quickly, and then move on to the next target. And he's very, very good at that. It's a niche role and very balanced within the game right now. Another way to say that he is balanced is that if you put him up against McCree as the perfect example. Now, Reaper's a lot easier to use than McCree, and he does a hell of a lot of damage and can have big impact on the game in ways that I've just explained. Now, McCree, on the other hand, is a lot harder to use and a lot harder to get even the most best potential you can get out of Reaper on McCree. But if you have enough skill to leverage in that McCree play, his high-end potential is much higher than Reaper's because he can two-shot things at a much longer range than Reaper can. Once again, being quite balanced within the game, and McCree having that niche role if you can get the skill out of it. That's what's so wonderful about Overwatch, is there's all these different skill caps, skill ceilings, skill levels depending on how good you are, and the game is accessible to any level of player for them exact reasons. And McCree or Reaper needing buffs or whatever isn't actually true at all, and we spoke about McCree recently and now Reaper for this exact reason, is that they are viable. And they don't need to be viable in every single game. In fact, having a hero that's viable in every game is actually the opposite of balanced. It means that they're too good a lot of the time. Now, we've said this before, it's not possible to have every single hero in the game viable. It's just not at the same time and all be equally as good. If that was a thing, then all the heroes would just serve the same purpose. That's the only way that's possible. It's actually good to have niche roles and picks and counter picks, and that is where the health of Overwatch is. Now, if we were going to buff Reaper to make him just a little bit better, but not super OP, I think you have to be very careful. Being able to cancel out of Wraith form is simply too strong. You would win too many 1v1s. He'd be too good and too easy to be too good at. But there's definitely some things that you could do. For example, if when you teleported with Reaper, which is his weakest ability, he didn't scream it out, "I'm behind you." If he simply teleported and you could use that just a little bit more often, that instantly gives him more viability. Now, teleport, it can be useful, but it is quite bad most of the time. Sometimes you can get to high ground when the enemy team can't actually see you, but other than getting to the fight a bit quicker and getting to high ground when the enemy team don't realize and maybe they're in spawn so that you can drop down and press Q, which I haven't even mentioned is how good Reaper's ultimate still is if leveraged in the right way. But his teleport just isn't that great apart from a few, again, niche situations. And if we were to make his teleporter so that no one knew you were behind them, would he then be too OP? That's the question you're going to have to let me know the answer to in the comments, because I'm personally not sure. Now, one thing that some people have mentioned is maybe he could have a smoke grenade, but I think that a smoke grenade, say you just smoke down Hanamura right at the choke, would that be too OP? It may be a very good ability to have in the game, but on a hero that has some of the lowest skill gap but the highest potential in damage, I think he's already good enough, and a smoke grenade would just be too much. However, I would like to see some kind of a smoke in the game, especially for them pesky 2CP maps that we can never seem to get through the choke on. That's pretty much everything, guys. We think Reaper's in a really good place. You can use him against anything. He's good against tanks. Just be careful, of course, if they have a Pharah, because she's going to wreck you. But honestly, against tank setup, she's very good. You just have to make sure you lurk and pounce the right targets at the right time. If you're new to the game, he's very good to use. And what do you think about teleport? Could you make his teleport a little bit better just to give him some more viability, or would that again just make him too good? Maybe he is on that knife's edge, the same as McCree, between being viable and super OP. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, be sure to drop a like. It really does help us out. Be sure to check out our Twitter, our Discord, and our Twitch. Our Discord, by the way, you can find the Reaper main of your dreams to group up with and rank up through the ranks. Be sure to drop a subscribe if you enjoyed, and have a great day as always. Take care and peace, people.